So today on Simply Happy Conversations, I have Michelle from The Tidy Effect. She's a professional organiser, a KonMari consultant, and she's passionate about helping people to simplify their lives, organise their homes, and organise their digital admin as well. So welcome, Michelle.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Oh, no, thank you so much for making the time and come on to share your knowledge around organising and digital admin, and maybe even some digital photos that we might talk about later.
Yes.
Maybe let's start with some of the things that you like to do in your free time. If you have any.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't have that much free time. I have two small children, so most free time is taken up by them. But some things I like to do free time by myself is read, nap. I always could do with a nap, and just hang out at the beach.
Oh, so what sort of books do you like to read?
Actually, mostly I read business and like professional development, so maybe that's not really free time, but I still do it.
Oh no, I'm the same. I love that. It's only if I'm on a holiday that I'll read a novel, but I still love professional organising books or professional learning books as well.
Yeah.
And so tell us about your journey to becoming a KonMari consultant, but also because you started with interior decoration first.
Yeah, so I always loved homes. Like I've been obsessed with houses since I was a kid. So I started I thought real estate, and I did a real estate course, and then I went, actually, I don't want to sell houses. It's all too high pressure. So then after a little bit of wondering what to do, I found an ad for an interior design course, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's it. Making houses, more personal for the clients. That's a lot better than selling them a house. So then I did interior design, and I worked in interior design for a few years. Maybe 5 years. And my last job was like for a home builder, a new home builder. And I worked in the studio helping the clients select all their finishes and things. And I just found that clients were like either building houses that seemed way too big, or trying to squish into a house that seemed way too small. Like no one was really thinking about what they actually needed. So then I thought, I need to get into their houses to make a difference. How do I get in and help them live better? So that's when I remembered Marie Kondo. Actually, I'd done my own tidying festival. So I remembered Marie Kondo. I Googled her, and she was doing training like a month from when I Googled her. So I flew to London and did the training with her.
And how long was the training for?
It's actually just like a long weekend.
Yep.
And then you've got to, when I came back, I had to do like almost a year's worth of tidying and reports and photos and everything to go back before they certify.
Oh, wow. And so was she actually there for the course for the weekend?
Yeah.
So you met
she
her.
Was there. Yeah.
Oh,
she's so lovely. Just like on TV, like exactly the same.
And so then do you use the KonMari method when you're working with clients, or is it, just decluttering and organising?
I prefer to use the KonMari method. Probably 99% of my home decluttering clients, they're the KonMari method.
Yeah. So maybe because people are probably, some people might be like, what are they even talking about? Yeah. Because, we're in that field, so we know, but maybe there's people out there that are like, oh, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. So maybe just go in a little bit of detail about it.
There are so many people that haven't heard even of Marie Kondo. So Marie is a professional organizer. She's from Japan originally, and she developed her own method of decluttering. So instead of doing like room by room, we do categories, and we do it in a specific order. And we go through and keep only the things that spark joy. So we would like pile all of your clothes together, and then you have to hold each piece and decide which ones spark joy, and we only keep the ones that spark joy, and the rest go either to donations or sadly maybe to landfill, but hopefully donations.
And selling, do you find you have many people who want to sell their things, or not so much?
Not so much. I guess it depends on your clientele. Like if I get a higher end client, one that has higher end products or garments, then we will do selling, or they will. I generally try and stay out of that.
Yeah.
But they don't do any selling. A lot of my clients are happy to just donate because it depends on whether it's worth the time to do the selling. So if you just have the average clothing, then it's not generally worth time, and they're happy to just donate.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what do you want to just give us a quick rough, what is the process, like the areas of your home that you would start with?
Yes, the categories that you do.
Yes,
so you start with clothing, and then you do books, and then you do papers, and then you do kimono, or which translates apparently to miscellaneous, which is just basically everything else in the house. and we break it down into subcategories. And then the final category is sentimental. So that can be any other item, like it could have been sentimental clothing, but we'll keep it to the end and do anything sentimental right at the end.
And so do you find, though, that you attract some clients that might be wanting to just do their kitchen? And so then do you still focus on the same method, or how does that work?
Yeah. So most of my clients do the full festival, because that's how I advertise and how I market. But a lot of there are a few of my clients that will just do one category, but we still do the whole spark joy thing. I just find it's more effective if you start from the start and do the whole house. But if someone's intent on doing just one category, we'll still pile it all together, check what sparks joy, and
And then do you find too, if they did just start with the one category, they're like, actually, let's keep going?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I just want you to do this toy room. Actually, now that we've done that, can we move on to something else?
Yeah, I just need help with like my kids' stuff. And then, actually, you know what? That was really good. Can we start on my stuff too now? So that's pretty common.
It is, isn't it? And it's great because it's obviously too that, getting to know you and what you do and going, oh, actually I can work with this person too. So understand why they say, let's just start with one.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It can be a bit of a jump for someone to sign up for a whole home declutter before they've worked with me at all. So we can sometimes start just with one category. Often that is clothing, like we will start with wardrobe, but sometimes it's a different category, and then we go back to the start once they know that we work well together.
Yeah. And what's your favorite area in the home working on?
Papers.
Oh, you love papers.
I love doing papers. People are so overwhelmed by paper, and I love the difference we can make.
It's a huge difference, and it's not even, you can't visually see it, but it's that feeling, isn't it? It's just, that's what I love too. Yeah. And I think it just makes a difference to the process in the home, doesn't it? When papers come in, what's going to happen with them, rather than
to have a whole to have a process to deal with them and move them out of the home is just life-changing for people.
It is, isn't it? It is. So then tell us about what you find with your organizing. Do you have any stories of things that, of people and real big changes that it's made to them and how it may have flowed onto the rest of their life?
I help a few people. Like often my clients are going through some kind of transition already when I come into their lives. So whether it's retirement or moving house or changing jobs or starting a business. So I love doing that, helping them through their transition. But often, or sometimes, we can come in when, nothing much is changing, but through the process of tidying, they'll realize what else doesn't spark joy in their life, and they will make changes going forward from there. So I think one of my favorites was a client who was a bit stuck in their career, but also close to retirement age. So kind of tossing whether to go ahead with, just retire. Should we change career? Should we just stick it out for another few years in this one? And through the whole process came to the decision that, no, I'm happy at home. I'll retire and then maybe take up a new hobby or something, and that could make me some money, but, no need to slog it out in the corporate world anymore.
Oh, what a great feeling for you
Yeah.
as well as them to have then made that decision just through organizing their home to then have clarity of mind as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's amazing, isn't it? How it just makes such a difference to their whole person, not just the home, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's actually why my business is called the Tidy Effect, because it's the effect of tidying, just it changes so much more in the long run as well.
Yeah, true. That's great. I love the name. Where did it come from?
Uh, Actually, it was a branding specialist handed it to me on a platter.
Yeah, but it must have had something that you went, yeah, I really like that. That sounds good.
Yeah. So she gave me, I gave her a brief of like, I
Yeah.
kind of want to show that it's not just a clean or an empty room that you get from it.
Yeah.
There's more that you get out of tidying. And so she gave me a bunch. She gave me, I think, 10 names to choose from, but that one really resonated. So.
Yeah, no, it does that effect on the end. I like that.
Yeah.
So then tell us about some top tips that you would give listeners to organizing their digital admin and even photos.
Yeah. So I love doing digital as well as the home decluttering. I find business owners especially really struggle in that area, and I can come in and make a huge difference. One of my tips is to back up, especially for photos, because a lot of the other data you can either rewrite or resave from other places, but the photos, they can't really be taken again. So, and I have lost a lot of photos in my life. So I definitely recommend backup, even as a mess that it is in now. Make sure that you've got a backup of them.
So a backup is in like on a hard drive or on physically on like your computer on what is it called? The cloud.
Yeah, so it's actually best practice to have both. So it's called the 3-2-1 method. You have 3 copies of your photos or of any file on 2 different devices, and at least one of them off-site. So for me, my photos are on my computer. They're backed up to an external hard drive and also to a cloud backup service as well. So I'm covered in all events.
Yeah,
I will not lose them again.
And how are they stored? Like, how do you organize them?
Yeah, so I was having this conversation with someone the other day because I've seen a lot of ways to organize your photos, and I believe that there's only one correct way to file your photos, and that is in chronological order. So whether I separate mine by year, but if you take a lot, maybe by month. But I definitely don't think I've seen like ordered by who's in the photos, which is confusing if there's more than one person in the photo. I've seen categorized in events, but then it's hard to track. And like, what about things that aren't actual events?
Yep.
So like just everyday photos, where do you file them? That sort of thing. So I definitely recommend chronological order.
Yeah. Year by year. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then I also recommend, like so many of my clients, the photos are only on their phone. Yep. So I definitely recommend dumping them onto computers regularly so that you can then organize them and back them up, because you can't do as much just on the phone. So, and then I use just a cloud drive. It doesn't really matter which one, but a cloud drive, so that you can then view them from your phone still, because a lot of my clients are worried that, if you put them all on your computer, you can't see any on your phone anymore. So I use the cloud drive so that they're still accessible that way as well.
That's a great idea. It is.
Yes.
That I think is the biggest worry, is that people won't be able to still see the photos themselves, like whenever they want. So they want to show someone a photo of something and they can't find it. So what about though, you take a photo, a screenshot of, a dress that you liked, or a screenshot of a website that you wanted to follow up on. What about all of those? What do you?
Keep on top of your screenshots is all I can say. So there are actually settings on your phones, definitely on Android, and I'm pretty sure on iPhone. When you take a screenshot and send it to someone, it asks you, do you want to delete it? And so you can just hit delete straight away. Once it's sent, you don't need it in your camera roll anymore. So that's really helpful. That definitely helps to keep some of that clutter down. And then with the other screenshots, I think when I'm doing the photo dump onto my computer, so I do my monthly, whenever you carry them across to your computer, I go through those screenshots, and it's kind of, if you haven't already actioned it, you probably won't. So if it was a website to follow up on, if you haven't done it in a month, it's unlikely that you will. So I let those go. It's kind of outdated information by then. Not that, that thing is out of fashion or anything, but that you clearly don't need it anymore because you haven't actioned it. So it was an impulse at the time, but you haven't actioned. And then I also have a lot of quotes and that sort of thing. Firstly, I use Pinterest to save them a lot of the time. But I do have a screenshots folder on the phone, on the computer, and you can tag photos so that they're searchable. And I'll tag them with like quote or something so that I can search. If I'm looking for an inspirational quote, I can just type quote into Windows Explorer and find all of the quotes that I've got saved on the computer.
Oh, that's a great idea. I haven't thought of doing that, tagging my photos on my phone. Yeah, to make it a lot easier. Or does it doesn't automatically do that? Does it pick it up?
No,
you just got to do it yourself.
Yeah. I think maybe possibly iPhones do have a setting to tag a lot, but that's normally only if you have all of your photos inside Apple Photo Library. So if you start using it, like if you're paired with a PC instead of a Mac computer, and you copy your photos onto the PC, then you'll lose those tags, I believe.
Okay. Oh, right.
So,
yes.
Yeah. There's lots of
those little technical things, isn't it?
Lots of little technical intricacies that you learn a lot when you start doing photos.
And I'd say that's probably people's resistance, isn't it?
Yes.
To even organize in the first place photos, is because there's so much to it. It's not as simple as just saving it necessarily, unless you have the same, the phone's the same as the computer, and you're used to using those cloud-based as well.
Yes. Yeah. It can all be really overwhelming to think, I've got this and I've got this, and how do I make it all work? And how do I,
And just that start, where do you start? Like, how do you even start? There was another question that came to mind when you were saying that about the tagging the photos. No, it's gone now. It'll come back to me, but it's just, it was around that people, I know what it was. So what about when people have digital cemetery, and they have the iPad, a computer and a phone, and they haven't saved any of those photos, but they don't want to get rid of them yet because they do want them? What's your process with that generally?
For
like to get that, they've got the old phone there and they want to get the photos off.
Yes.
It's always, to me, it's the last thing, and then we never get around to it. So,
I actually have an old phone sitting on my windowsill in front of me where the same thing.
Yes.
It is definitely not a priority.
Yeah.
I hear you. But basically just making time for it. But if you have a system in place, it's quite easy to do so. But if you don't have a system, then it is difficult to know where to start, like you said. And then that's when people have their tech just sitting around thinking, I've got to get photos off that at some point. But really just diving in and researching the best way to get them off is really the first step. So for me, I have moved all of the photos off that phone. It was all of the photos in messages.
Yeah.
And there were a few that I went through and saved. And after that, I thought, what's gone is gone. There's a point where it's not worth the effort. So I went through and saved all the photos that my mum had sent me, for instance, because they're normally of my children when they're at her place. So I went through and saved a bunch of those. But really, she has all of those photos as well. So I could have just gone to her and asked, if she had if I could just get any photos of my children. So you've got to weigh up the time versus benefit there.
And then you think about these devices, like how much they've changed over the past few years as well. Like when you actually probably get that photo, what's the quality like?
Yes. Yeah.
in comparison to the
To
recent
the current
phone, that
ones.
that it may not even be worth all of that trouble of finding cords to charge it to even get it off the phone.
Yeah.
Is the other thing that I'll plant that seed when we create a graveyard of digital stuff. I'll plant the seed, and then that's probably as far as it goes for me, because I just don't get back to it. But yes, and I generally will refer people to a digital technology type of specialist to help them with that. But yes, it's interesting, isn't it?
Can be when I first start with a photo client, it can be very full on doing the hunt and gather to find all of those photos on all of those devices and go back to old computers or old iPads and everything. And when you're doing it, you would start with a folder for each device. So, this is the photos from my old iPad. This is the ones from my old computer. This is from my old phone. And you would copy them each into those folders so that you've then got all of them in one spot.
That's great.
And there's deduplicating photos in case you had photos saved on your iPad, but then you moved them to your old computer, so they're on both.
Yes.
So you can run deduplicating photos to find all of deduplicating programs to find all of those duplicate photos as well.
Okay. And then, so what about the physical photos then?
Yeah.
How do you organize those?
That's a whole nother ball game.
Because my kids are actually a bit of both. Like my first child, she's got actual physical photos, and there was no camera phone then.
Yeah.
So she's the first, I think it's maybe the first 5 years of her life. She's not on a phone. She's just on
a printed photo.
Yeah, she's printed, but she's on the computer, but she's on a hard drive. Yeah, that's her.
Yes. Yeah.
But then there's lots of printed as well.
Yeah. So for printed ones, it's an effort because they don't have dates on them. You've kind of got to arrange them in chronological order, kind of got to work out or guess when they were taken. And I do that honestly by fashion for one. And also like the age of the kids, the age of people in them and that sort of thing. Or that was when we went camping in that year, or that's that was that big event, so those years, and then you can piece the rest around that. But sometimes the best you can do is decades, when you're organized by decades, when you're I did my grandparents' back catalogue of photos, so that was kind of difficult, and I was like, well, that's when my mum was a child, and then that's when they were teenagers, and so that's the kind of best grouping that you can do in that stage and in that point sometimes.
Yeah. And then do you scan those then to make them digital as well, like to save them?
Yeah, I did. When they're just one physical copy, it's kind of vulnerable, if anything happens to those photos. So I did digitize all those, but that is an art in itself as well. So you've got to have the right technology. There are apps that say that they'll scan photos on your phone, but that's not really a high quality. So you couldn't reprint that and have a decent quality photo. So it's that's an art in itself.
And I'm sure there's a lot better technology now that can scan photos really quickly and just have a better quality than there was even maybe 2 years ago.
Yes. So a lot of the professional photo organizers actually take photos. They camera scan. They take photos of the photos with their camera, because that is the way to get the best quality if you have a very high quality camera.
Yeah.
And that is a skill.
Wow, that just sounds really time consuming.
That I don't do it myself yet.
Yeah.
But I know a lot that do, and they have a whole workflow, so it can be time consuming, but once you get good at it, you can do so many per minute. It can be really efficient if you know what you're doing.
And so then to finish off, what's the sort of best way then of either storing them? Like, what do you find with people you work with? Do they usually like to have them printed off? Do they, what's some of the ways of displaying them or keeping them?
There's so many different ways, and each person has their own preference. I love the idea of, I haven't done it for myself yet, actually, a digital photo frame that you can upload the photos to and that can switch around and that sort of thing. I actually don't have many photos on display in my house, and that makes me a little sad. So I do have to fix that and get a digital photo frame. A lot of people,
2022 goal
yes,
for you,
that is a goal for me.
Yeah.
Get my photos displayed. A lot of people do like having prints and photo walls and that sort of thing. If you're doing a photo album, they'll normally do like a photo book, not print each picture and put them in an album, but create a photo book through one of the apps or websites online, and then get the whole book printed. So they can be really nice. And I know people that do like a yearly family photo book, which can be really good. And then to have those all lined up on the shelf looks really cool too.
Yeah, no, and it's great for kids. Kids, I find, really like going through the books and looking back, the ones that we've done when they were younger.
Yes, I also want to do that 2023 goal maybe. Because we get photos from daycare too, and at the end of the year they give you the little scrapbook of things they've done. And my daughter, my youngest one's 2, and she loves going through that book. Loves it. Anytime she sees it, she pulls it out. So yeah, definitely a new family ritual will be creating photo books for each year going forward. But
I did the kids art, like, because they're a bit older, and I used like Jimmy Halfpenny. They were amazing. So I sent all their art to them, and they made these beautiful books, and they love looking through the books. They actually chose from these massive tubs of art what they wanted in the books, which was great. So they must have been, I think I did it 2 years ago, so sort of 8 and 10, and so it was a good age because they had so much to choose from. But that was it's a good range of. I was probably like, oh, we need a couple more kinder in there, and they chose obviously their older artwork, which they could see a lot more development in. But it was really lovely, and they still love to flick through them.
That's amazing. I love that idea, because you do come across some people with tubs of kids artwork. It's like, okay, do you have space for all of this? Let's make some books out of that.
Definitely. The other thing we've done, and I've done it with other clients, is put their photos onto the Google Home. So set up their Google Home or their Alexa, and then have a photo album so it's digitally coming through as well, which is
similar to doing a digital photo frame. That would be so good.
That works well, because they can see the differences and the changes over the year and stuff as well. Which is beautiful.
It's a good gift also for grandparents if you've got one that you can upload remotely as well.
That would be great.
So we just use a family chat at this stage, where we just send photos to the whole family, but it would be really nice to have for the grandparents a photo album or photo frame that you can upload, and they can just glance and see, new photos on there.
Yeah, really I love that. That's a great idea. We'll definitely be thinking about using that one. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for your time. How can people find you? What's the best way to connect?
Thank you for having me on. My website is thetidyeffect.com.au, and I am on most social media under The Tidy Effect.
Beautiful.
Really easy.
I'll definitely share links in the podcast links section. And thank you so much again for coming on and sharing all of those tips around photos. That'll be great for people to get organized this year.
Yes, thank you so much.
I know, thank you.